Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. So today I want to go ahead and do another episode of my so-called fat life. This one took me a while to write. I wrote this over many different nights, and it's a little bit like I don't want to say disgruntled. I don't know if that's the right word, but it's a little discombobulated and nebulous. It is called Labyrinth, and what it really is describing is the mental labyrinth that comes with weight loss on both a physical and emotional level. It's this sort of era of weight loss that I've been towards many times, where I'm kind of in that middle zone, and it hits me mentally this same way every time. So that's what this article, it's not an article, I'm used to. That's what this blog is about. So let's go ahead and get into it. Labyrinth. It's weird how I got to this point before in 2020, and I felt very similar to how I feel right now. Depressed, even self-hating, embarrassed by my past online behavior. In 2020, I shaved my head trying to escape my past. I couldn't care what other people thought of me anymore. I was incapable. Everything had shut down, and I was in isolation. I had reached this point by brute force, extensive fasting, a virtual zero-carb diet in which my only carbs were kale and spinach. In 2020, my worst fear was being single. In 2020, I aged like milk. I was looking worse and worse each day. In 2023, I have the same nausea I used to have. In 2023, being totally non-keto, I have constant swelling and draining. It's tricky to keep track of my progress, but staying on the path is so much easier. I'm single, and yet somehow I'm still alive. I'm continuing to heal. I'm looking better and even younger as time goes by. However, I still feel that same embarrassment, self-loathing, and self-accusation. I don't think most people appreciate how truly difficult this is. I don't ever want to come on here and act like everything is wonderful. I don't think that helps anyone at times like this. At times like this, I feel completely alone. I try to focus on the physical sensations of my body. I can feel that my armpits are raw from my sweat releasing God knows what. I can feel a pain in my chest. I can feel facial swelling. I feel itchiness. I hold on to that now to know the nature of my current emotions is physically based. I felt this psychological effect at this weight many times. I don't think I've ever gotten past it. It's a labyrinth in my mind, a living nightmare akin to Coraline or Pan's Labyrinth with that weird monster that holds its eyes. You can look it up. It's a thing. When I was younger, I used to run with these feelings. I used to feel something, anything had to be changed. And change them I did. In some ways, things got better. In others, they got worse. At this point, I know it is physical, so I'm not really trying to change anything. Or at the very least, I'm not changing anything major. The thing that I have hated and been fascinated by throughout this journey is how I've had to take the exact way out as the way in. There is no cheating, no skipping ahead, no getting to heaven without getting through hell. When I look back at myself over the past 10 years, searching for this answer, stumbling along the way, then finding it and being sucked into the momentum of it all, I just want to tell myself that I'm going to do it. I'm getting past this labyrinth this time. I promise. I promise you I will do this. Very recently, I have been struggling more with my appetite. It's not every day, and it's very cyclical. I go to the gym every fourth day, and the day before the gym, I have been struggling a bit. I have moments where I'm super hypo, laying in bed cold, and then moments where I'm feeling better and start to forget some of the issues I've had. I think I'm going through something very intense, and I think it's okay if I need to eat a little more some days. I know this will pass. I have a foot in both worlds. As I watch my personality shift, so much of the extroversion I work towards is fading away. So much of the confidence I built is just washing away. It's very much the feeling that the castle I built out of all the bricks they threw at me is crumbling before me. Every part of me born out of a need for survival is dying. All that's left is who I used to be before I got so sick. It's very much a feeling of sobriety after blacking out for years. I'm just looking at my life in a sort of life review. The sick me is dying, and I'm trying to let him go. On the 4th of July, I realized that my mind was so used to seeing myself as sick that I actually had to do a little bit of hypnosis on myself to get past it. My friend Sam told me that I just needed to tap myself in certain areas, like my forehead and hand, and repeat this phrase to myself. Even though I feel sick right now, I see my health improving. My brain and body are rewiring every day. I've been twitching a lot. It's hard for me to think in a straight line, so I'm sorry if this is chaotic. I wish that this type of thing could be wrapped in a pretty bow, but it can't. I'm still going through it. All I know is everything I built in my illness never made me happier. I was never happy being the troll. I was never happy being outspoken. I was never happy being free, whatever that means in today's world. I was never happy with restrictive rules and codes. I could never be happy with anything I built on a foundation of illness. It was never going to be balanced. It was never going to be sane. It was never going to work. And in a lot of ways, that is a bitter pill to swallow. Oftentimes, when faced with healing, I just wonder if that time was wasted. I wonder if it was worth the things I learned about society and other people. I wonder if there will be any consolation prize for all that I did and went through. In my least toxic moments, I wonder what will be built on solid ground. As stated in this irritating essay, everything is so nebulous right now. What freaks me out most is the finality that everything in the past is now gone. God knows what will remain when I finally escape this labyrinth, one which I've recently realized I've never been able to escape before. Realistically, with other approaches, I would have given up by now. In this one, I can't. The possibility of being super obese in the future is being sealed behind me as my nervous system and brain changes. I don't think I will ever have the appetite I used to have ever again. And while I'm quite relieved to know I will never go back, I truly have no idea where I'm going. So, as I told you guys, that was very nebulous, but I felt like it needed to just be that way because that's how it's been the past couple weeks, or especially the past week or so. But I'd say really since July, it's been that way, where it's a lot of these different feelings and like very conflicting feelings. So it's like I'm getting better, but then I'm getting worse. Like it's weird. It's like you're constantly in this weird state. And I still find it funny because people get very, not always, but a lot of times, okay, I'm being a little extra. Hold on. Let me clarify. See, look, I'm having a hard time thinking sometimes. Sometimes people get very irritated with me when I talk about how sick I am, both in a physical sense and in a psychological sense, because in my case, they're very combined. If you need evidence, look up psychological effects of hypothyroidism. It's very real. If you don't want to believe them, then I don't know what to tell you. But I think most people on this channel, at least, would agree that obesity, especially morbid obesity, is dangerous. It's deadly, and it has a cost. And I think what I want from you guys to take from this that I wrote is essentially that once you're in morbid obesity, it's very hard to get out. And you have to understand that. It's not like other things. Like, I looked at Twitter and I saw this guy talk about how he had a best friend who was obese his whole life. And he just ate one meal a day and walked a lot or something. And he lost 50 pounds and he kept it off for 20 years. That's what he said. I want you to understand. And then he goes, it's just willpower, blah, blah, blah. That's what he says in that tweet. I want you guys to understand that when you are morbidly obese, you are damaged to the point that it isn't just willpower anymore. Like, there are other factors you have to consider. Consider the fact that I have to lose 4 times the amount of weight that that person did. Consider how much more of an effect that excess weight has had on my body and mind. 4 times as much. 4 times. I have lost almost 10% of my body fat, and I'm still 46% body fat. Think about that. This is still a very deadly number. And there are people that are even bigger than me and that have gotten much bigger than me. And so I get frustrated sometimes because people do not acknowledge the health effects and risks of being of a certain size. Not just physically. I described some of my symptoms in that essay, but also mentally. The mental aspect. Like, if you can imagine being 200 pounds overweight and being that weight for the better part of 10 years, what would you have to build in your life? What would you have to organize in your life? What type of social dynamics would you have to navigate at that size? How would you view yourself? How would you view other people? Think about it. Now think about all that and think about the fact that for me, all those things are changing at the same time. And then for most people, think about the fact that they do diets that don't work and they are starving. I'm not starving. Quite the opposite. There are certain days when I want to eat more. But when I say I eat more, I'm eating like 500 calories more. Like, I'm eating more towards maintenance. I'm not eating huge amounts of calories anymore. I can't. I get nauseous. I feel like I could throw up if I eat a lot. And so because of some of the healing I've done, I don't have to rely completely on willpower because I will get nauseous if I overeat. And I didn't have to get surgery for that. So it is a good thing in that sense. And the brain is rewiring. My body is rewiring. Like, things are changing to where I'm never going to be able to be as big as I was ever again. I'm just not. And that's great. That part is amazing. But if you think about all these other things I told you about, your identity, how you view other people, the systems you had to build in your life, all these different things, if you think about all that, the systems you have to build in your mind when you are that sick, how does one cope with that, especially when starving? The answer is most of the time they don't. And that's why I'm trying to show this aspect of it. Because if you are not morbidly obese, do not become it. It's very difficult. Because it's hard to get out, most people stay in it for many years. Then you build a whole life upon it. Then when you get out of it, if you get out of it, more than likely, which the odds are not always great, as fat acceptance loves to point out, But if you do get out of it, everything, all these different systems have to be changed or go away. I guarded myself from stuff. I became much less vulnerable of a person about 8 years ago because of a lot of traumatic things that happened in my life at that time, and my health definitely getting worse at that time. Lots of binging at that time. And a lot of those defenses and a lot of those things are gone. And I worked hard for those things. I worked hard for my confidence. I worked hard for my extroversion. I worked hard to fight for myself. I worked hard for all these things. And to see all that progress going away is very, very jarring. And now something, a form of myself that's a bit more vulnerable is coming back. And I don't hate it, but I don't know where to go with it. I don't know where it'll end up. And that's scary because I don't have to be as guarded. And I really can't be. These things can't last in a healthier person. They just can't. They're no longer helpful. So, yeah, this part of my journey has been incredibly difficult. And like I said, I've approached this many times and I never got past it. But this time I know I will. I cannot go back. I can't. And that is scary. Because the only way to go is forward. So anyways, these are just certain things that I want people to know and I want people to think about. And I wish, like I said in the essay, I wish I could wrap it up and tell you it'll all be okay and whatever. But I can't because I'm not through it yet. So anyways, I will talk to you guys again later. Have a good rest of your day, night, etc. And I will see you soon.